Shout it out loud. Take it away, Carolyn.
It's my life.
Disappearing. I can't hear it anymore.
I just want to live when I'm alive.
So I love that. It's a great way. Oh. So I left you dancing.
She stopped it too quick.
I know, because we get into that song and then we just play it forever. And yeah, so I love that song. It kicks us off for the weekend. But I also love it because you know what? It is your life and you need to work it the way that you want it.
100%.
So, in case you haven't noticed, this is not Faye Chapel.
I'm wearing a disguise. Wait, let me rip it off.
Well, this is Carolyn Dickinson, who graciously and awesomely stepped in. Unfortunately, Faye had a personal matter that she needed to deal with tonight, so she was unable to make it. And but as they say in show business, the show must go on.
Absolutely.
So, quick call, text, Carolyn, what you doing?
Makeover, I'm here.
Go put on some makeup. I need you on the air.
Okay.
So perfect. So welcome to Free for All Friday. You have been on one of our Monday trainings, which ironically enough, I was not able to go because my son was receiving a graduation package that day. So I couldn't go for personal reasons. So it seems like you never get both of us. You just get one or the other.
That's okay. Well, no, we did the Friday too. So it was all three of us.
Oh, that's right. We did do a Free for All Friday with you. I'm sorry.
Right. That was after I did my talk on, what did I talk about again? I can't remember. Right. Was it vision?
It was about vision.
Oh yeah, that's
exactly. Right. No, that's perfect. So yeah. So again, so welcome. Great to have you back. So this week we talked about mindset. So Monday we talked about mindset. Tuesday we had a couple of tools. Faye brought in, I think it was Brain FM and another one that I don't remember. That's okay. And talked a lot about mindset this week. So that's another reason why I like that song, because I think it just really kind of makes you own what you're doing, own your life. And I'm really glad that you're able to join us tonight, because you were saying earlier that you've written blogs on mindset. You've done a lot of training on mindset. You've trained people on mindset. You just love this topic.
It's one of my favorite topics because it empowers and it impacts absolutely everything in your life, business, social, personal, relationships. It is just your mindset runs how your every day goes for you.
Exactly. Yeah. which is so true. So we actually have some questions from people, which again, I think you're much better. I mean, I think you just have to own your wheelhouse, right? Like understand your strength. And I have personally a very positive mindset, a very, success-minded mindset. So where did you start having that? Did you always have that mindset, or did you create it or develop it as you grew? What's your experience?
So for me, I think, I don't know if I would call it mindset. I think I always had what I used to call a fire in my belly, even though I had character building experiences in life and I had a lot of challenges I had to work through. There was something that just kept me going, that just went, you know what, I'm not going to settle for this. I'm not going to be satisfied with status quo because someone told me I couldn't do something, or that because of being dyslexic, I wouldn't be able to do that. And that made my mind go, watch me, right? It was just that fire in my belly going, you're kind of now pissing me off. And this isn't going to wait. This is not going to be the way it's going to go. And so
okay. So just take that one thing as an example, because I find literally there's the fork in the road. Somebody told me that somebody told you couldn't do something, right? And you have two options. You can go, you're right, or you can choose exactly what you did, which is you're kind of pissing me off and watch me and I'm going to prove you wrong, which is freaking awesome. And that's the route I love.
Yeah.
How did you make that choice to go that way versus the other way?
For a while, actually, I'll be honest, I was ready to take the, okay, fine, I believe you. And in my life, actually, I met someone. I wasn't actually supposed to go to college. So let's be real about all of this and transparent. I gave up on
Free for All Friday.
I'm going to tell you how it is. I actually gave up in school. I felt like I couldn't do anything right. And I felt like, life wasn't a possibility. And my parents didn't know how to deal with it in those days because I'm older, I'm 51. So in those days, they didn't understand learning challenges like the way they do now, right? It wasn't really a big conversation. And so I kept getting told, you'll never succeed, you'll never do well, never anything. And these are two names I remember very well because they changed and pivoted my life forever. And it was Miss Hamwood. She was a counselor at the school I went to.
Nice.
And she said, you're going to college. I said, no, I don't have the grade. She goes, Carolyn, you're going to college. We're going for a drive. She drove me over to Centennial College, Warden Woods campus. Okay, this is how specific. And I was 18 at the time. Okay, that's a lot of years to remember this shit. So, and anyway, so she drove me over to the campus and she introduced me to Trevor Massey, who was the director and registrar for Centennial College. And she walked up to him and said, you need to register this girl in your school. And he said, okay. And I went,
That's awesome.
How did that happen, right? She goes, we're going to start you in general courses and help you to get your grades up. And then she walked me into another office, a counseling office, and she introduced me to Dave Robertson, who was the head counselor there, who actually studied learning challenges and could help me like identify how I needed to work. And so that's when my confidence shot up on a higher level because he taught me so well. And he really taught me how to own who I was and how to take a stand for myself. And that pivoted my entire life and my entire world. And so I always knew there was something inside of me, and he literally like stuck his hand inside of me, pulled it out and said, this is who you are. And it took a while to completely own it and live it. But boy, was that the start of it. And that changed how I looked at everything, how I looked at life, how I spoke to people, everything.
That's awesome. And I love the fact that sometimes it just takes one person to believe in you, to give you that encouragement, to just show you that you're not maybe what you have in your head or the story you have in your head. And we all say that you can change the story in your head and rewrite the book. And like, I know there's all those sayings out there, but when somebody believes in you and can say, you know what, you're good.
Yeah.
Just like, I remember it was like, I mean, my dad and my mom, like both my parents, super encouraging, never, always taught me I could do anything, even if I didn't think I could. Say yes, figure it out second, like always really awesome. But I remember it was like my grade 10 math teacher. Like that was like everyone's always, do you have that one teacher? And I have my math teacher from grade 10. I don't even remember his name, which I feel I'd love to contact him today because he just made such an impact. He believed in me. He told, like, I knew I was smart. I was getting good grades in math, but I just felt smart, and he believed, and he's like, yeah, you can do this. And this is like, it was just like, wow. And I was like 16 going, holy cow, like you're the one, like, what do you see? I don't get it.
Right? You feel like that
when you're through a super awkward stage. And it's like, he treated me like I was an adult. We had adult conversations, and he was just really cool. So I just love that. So I'd like to, if anybody's watching, if you're watching the replay, do you guys have a person? Do you guys have that teacher? Anything, that one person who's kind of made a difference for you? Linda's on right now, even though we see Facebook user on the comments. But yeah, like sometimes it just takes that one person.
It does
to make you believe in yourself.
And you know what? It could be a coach. It could be a relative that just, takes a stand for you or really just sees that spark in you. It's funny. I want to, if you don't mind, can I share something that popped into my head?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's Free Pearl Friday. Go for it.
All right. So it's funny how stories pop into your head that really kind of apply. So we all try to be perfect. We have to be this way. We have to look like this. We have to act like this, all this stuff. And it was funny because there was one day that I was dealing with something. It was personal as well as business because, a client had come to me with something and I was trying to figure out how to support them.
Right.
And so here I am Sunday, and I was laying in bed flipping through the channels, and I'm trying to remember her name, but this preacher came on. She's a pastor.
Okay.
And I love her. Like, I was like, I'd never seen her before in my life. And I'm like, I really like how this woman talks. Like, she's so like right there in your face. She's so kind of, here it is. Here's what it looks like. But it's so understandable, even though she's talking about the Bible. And I'm spiritual. I'm not like, I don't go to church every Sunday or something like somebody else. And if you do, that's great. But she impacted me at that very moment because she shared a story on stage, and she had these two beautiful, large, like massively large clay jars or something with lids on them. Anyway, she starts talking about what we try to be perfect and it has to be this way and feeling how we need to be perfect. And I'm shortening her conversation. Yeah. And we talked about how imperfection is actually more perfect than being perfect. And so all of a sudden she goes through this, right? And how actually imperfection can light up the world. Because, you know, what somebody else might consider imperfection, somebody else considers perfect. Like, you know, you think about it, and I'll relate it to relationships. You know, it's all about how you perceive something, which has to do with your mindset. And so, you know, you could look at someone and they'll go, oh my God, he's totally handsome. He's gorgeous. He's like, oh, beautiful. And another person looks and go, oh, not my type.
Right.
So it's perfect for you and how you need to be and what you want to accomplish. So anyways, all of a sudden in her conversation, she lights both of these things up. Apparently there was a light inside of both of them. Well, guess what? The perfect one, you couldn't see the light. The one that was cracked and aged and imperfect, the light shone out brightly and beautiful.
Nice. That's a great story. I love that.
And when I saw that, it was like lights went on in my head and went, oh my God. And I share that story with my clients because we all try to fit into this little tiny, it's like trying to fit a square into a circle, right? It doesn't work. So you need to figure out where you fit, not where you fit because everybody else thinks you should fit there or that you think you need to follow a certain path, right? It's really finding out who you are and what you want to accomplish in life. And that in itself will create a shift in your mind.
So interesting that you brought that up because actually one of our questions that we received, as everybody knows, we always receive things, direct messages, texting, email. I don't know why people don't want to put it publicly, but that's their choice.
That's okay.
So one of the questions, so I have a feeling that actually is going to answer the question. So funny that you brought that up. So one of the questions is, I have my program. So I'm assuming it's an online program is this question. Okay. So I have my program done. But I keep procrastinating because I feel that it needs more and more for my customers. Is that just a delay tactic? What do you think? And I'm actually wondering if what you just said is the answer to that question, because I think trying to make something perfect in your brain is very much a delay tactic, but will it ever be perfect? And so is it already perfect to somebody else?
Right. So let me add to that. And yes, I would say that story applies, but let's look at it in another way. So why are you really avoiding it? Because here's the deal. At the end of the day, no matter what you create, somebody's not going to like it. Really, that's what's going to happen because you're never going to make anything that everybody's going to like. The problem is we try to make things perfect. So I'm going to give you guys an example that actually happened to me in corporate that's going to hit this home and actually the cost of what it is when we do that. And I've done it as well. So I'm a perfectionist. I'm atypical. Yeah. I will totally admit to that. And, you know, Faye has given me a good couple slaps a couple times with a 2x4 saying, stop it. But, you know, we try to make everything perfect because we think that we can add value. But yes, you can, but then create something else and add value. So in corporate, what actually funny happened is I dealt with the CEO and it was a medical company. Now, let me describe this a little. So he was a very short man and he was part Persian and part French. So think of Napoleon on crack. And I mean like, whoa, right? So I really had to learn how to deal with him. But the interesting thing is he had an amazing software program. Okay. And here's what happens when we delay. Here's what happens when we let our mindset take over that nothing we do is enough. And this is what can cost you. So basically what he did was he kept trying to make it perfect. He had a huge contract with Australia. He had a massive deal. Like, honestly, this could have put him in the billions. And he hired a ton of a team to design all the stuff. And he kept trying to add stuff to it. So it was never done. So here's what it cost him. It cost him just before Christmas laying off 75% of his staff. He was advised to get investors. He did not. And he waited just before Christmas to get investors. And they weren't willing to invest in him. And whatever they were going to take for part of the company wasn't going to be worth it. He lost the deal in Australia, had to pay money back. Wow. So there's a cost when we try to make things so perfect. Had he launched it and then added modules onto it to improve it and continue to build it, his success rate would have been much higher. And here's the thing, then the value, he would have understood what needed to be fixed.
Right.
So sometimes we hesitate trying to be perfect, but perfection is not what we need. It's an understanding of what our clients need. So if you're willing to push past that fear, and that's what it is, fear, then your success rate is going to skyrocket. And here's the thing that you don't realize. Let me add in, sorry, Stacey. Again, this is my favorite topic.
I know, it's okay. That's why you're here.
The thing about what people don't realize is that most of our mindset is run by our subconscious. And your subconscious is 85% of how you react to something. Oh, my apologies, 95%. It's actually a stat. 95% of how we react and deal with things that come from our subconscious. And 3 to 5% is our conscious. And so here's the deal with that. You're dealing with every situation you've ever dealt with in life, how you've been taught, your culture, your background, all of that stuff is where your mindset's coming and the decisions you're making and how you perceive the information that's coming at you. And that in itself, if you can understand that and make a shift, you'll start to see how much your mindset opens up, how your capabilities change, how your success rate change, and how you'll stop hesitating to launch something, constantly worrying that it's not enough.
Yeah. No, and you know what, on Monday, when Faye and I were talking about that, we were, I sort of asked the question around, fear of success versus fear of failure and how they're so similar. And sometimes you self-sabotage a launch or a program or something like that. And I kind of said, well, do I have fear of success? Because I've done the same thing. I've delayed tactics. I think one of my biggest delayed tactics is learning. I'm like, no, I just need to watch one more course. No, I just need to do one more thing. And you realize when you put it out, not perfect in your own brain, that all of a sudden it's like, wow, that gives me exactly what I wanted. That program has so much information. In the meantime, you were holding back thinking it wasn't enough.
100%.
So it's interesting. It's just, you're right. It's your subconscious. It's all those stories that you're telling people in your head. You just got to do it. And then, like you said, if you get the feedback of anything else, then you can continue to add, more value, you continue to add more information, and you make it better after you launch it. But it's so, it's probably going to be so much better than what you think it's going to be.
100%. And you know what, if you really want to do something and you really want to kind of send it out to a couple friends, ask them what they think. But here's the deal. I don't want you to take everything they say to heart. And also be picky who you send it to, because if they don't understand what you're doing, it's going to be really hard for them to give you some solid feedback. And I actually do that with my clients. I'll say, okay, let's do it. You've got a couple friends that are in this industry that might want a program like this, or might know someone who would want a program like this. Let's send them out some questions and get their feedback, like I did with you for one of my clients. Yeah. And we really got some interesting feedback on pricing. We got interesting feedback on the content. And that really does also help verify that what you have is valuable. And sometimes it's strange, and I admit it, sometimes I need that verification. Right. And it's sometimes funny, actually, Stacey, I've sent you stuff and you've said, this is great. And I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, hey, cool. Let's do it.
Okay. So, that's literally word for word the conversation.
It was literally word for word, because, it's funny. We get wrapped up in our own minds and our own past experiences, even though we've dealt with them, they don't go away. And so this is the thing you need to understand about your mindset. Your experiences don't disappear, but they can pop up. So here's the trick. It's having the strategies not to let it take you out of the game. Whatever that strategy looks like for you, and it's different for everybody. But now that you know that your subconscious controls you and you start to understand the things that are popping up for you, it's then going, what do I need to do to make sure that when this pops up, it doesn't take me out of the game? And that's what millionaires and billionaires do. They have stuff in their life that has happened that pops up that might block them and may have at some point in time, but they've learned how to get over it faster.
Well, and I think the more, and I think one of the things that I said on Monday was about, you have a little bit of a success. So you do one thing, and even if it's small, you have success, but then that kind of drives you as well. And then, one more thing, and then one more thing, and then one more thing. And then the next thing you know, you're like, I can do anything.
Yeah. And it is. And you know what? Let's be honest. Okay. I think we do very well, but we have moments still to this day where we question ourselves. here's the difference is we've learned how to get past it faster. We've learned how, or like having a coach and using them as your sounding board. And, you know, it's funny, and I'll be honest, like with my coach, it's Faye, you know, there's moments I have character building days and I'll talk to her and I'm like, oh my God, that was silly. Now I'm over it. Move on. Okay. And sometimes a quick conversation, and that might be the solution you're looking for. Like I have a friend too. So there's days that I get stuck and you know, something might get stuck in my head, or, you know, I'm having an issue and I don't know how to deal with it. And it should be something I should get over very quickly, you would think. And then I'm like, okay, I got to call a friend. So it's like, call a friend, you know, when you're in that taxi, call a friend. So I call a friend and I'll say, this is what's going on. And they'll just, you know, I have certain friends I call and they'll just put it to me blankly and say this. And I'll be like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. I'm over it now. Let's move on.
Exactly. Right? So we have little successes become huge confidence builders.
Yes.
Absolutely. So one of the other questions that came in, we have a few, but actually I wanted to pose to you as well, because I know that you've been focused on and have done and put out a couple of things around routine.
Yes.
Because I know you're a big routine person. So one of the questions was, I struggle with keeping a routine. Okay. I know what I have to do, but I just don't do it. And the more that they get behind, the more that they shut down. So what can I do to make my routine a priority?
Okay, interesting. So there's a couple different things. And here's what happens with routine. Some people I don't like routine because it makes me feel like I have to follow this pattern every day. And yes, you kind of do. Let's be honest. So what you want to do is think about what are the top 3 things. And I know you've heard this before, but let me go on with this. What are the top 3 things you need to do every single day? You see, there's a lot of things that we do during the day that aren't that important, and we do them and they're fillers. Let's be honest. So you need to think about, what do I need to do to move myself and my business forward? Is it making money? Is it talking to someone? Is it revisiting a situation? Is it completing a contract? So what I do and what I teach my clients to do is, we got a lot to do every day, but what are the top 3 things you absolutely have to complete? Right? Or do a part of. So the other thing we try to do is we take big projects and we try to do them all in one day. Don't do that, because that's going to get overwhelming. You're going to avoid it. And then it's going to build up.
And then the more you get behind, the more you shut down and the more overwhelmed you get. And then, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But I think what I find fascinating is, I know I'll go into it and go, okay, I have this big thing, and I'm always a eat your frog first kind of person. So, which I love that saying. And if it's just to do what you don't want to do first in the day, I love that.
100%.
And I remember thinking, you know, if I have this big thing I need to do, and it's like, okay, I've got 2 hours blocked. This is what I'm going to do, whatever. This is how long it's going to take me. And I overestimate, and then I'm done in half an hour. And it was a lot easier than I thought once I just started to dive in. And then I'm like, well, now I've got an hour and a half, and it wasn't that easy. So again, those little successes mean a big thing. So now when I go and do something that I think is going to take me 2 hours, I go, you know what? I'm just going to block the time. Same thing. Yeah. Again, I know myself. I know I overestimate on time. And then when I know that I'm halfway done and I'm done in like 20 minutes, I'm like, okay, then I feel better. Then I know I have more time. And then it encourages me to just keep going. It's like, okay, what else can I do on my list? All right, let's get the thing going.
100%. And it's funny because, you know, having that list is great, but also just knowing, again, the 3 things you need to do that day and accomplish, but even breaking them down in smaller pieces sometimes, right? Exactly. If you're going to develop an entire program and you're expecting to sit down in 2 hours and do it, the likelihood is, depending on the size, it's not going to work.
No, probably not.
Right. And then sometimes, like you said, we procrastinate things and then we sit down and do it and realize how quickly we can accomplish it.
Right.
Another little trick too is actually just having a weekly schedule and blocking off 1 bit of time per week in one day to work on tasks like that. Right. And then have your other stuff listing. And I have actually a freebie on the website that people can download, and it gives them instructions on how to set that up if that's helpful. But you're right. Take your bits and pieces, get them done. What is the priority for my day? Focus that time, block it off, get it done. And it's funny because a lot of times, exactly what Stacey said, you end up getting it done way faster than you ever anticipated. And if you procrastinate too long, you could miss out on great opportunities.
Well, I think because sometimes, again, when, you know, if you schedule it, and I know like Faye has literally taught me that like day one, you know, here's your calendar, block off your time and do all of that. And I know that really helps me stay on track. So when I do have that time, I know that it's focused time. So I go in with this is what I'm doing. This is my, my brain, or this is my focus. And then, like I said, before I know it, it's done, which is really good. As opposed to, I'll fit it in here. I'll go do that. Oh, I've got to.
It won't happen. It won't happen.
Right. And then it'll take you 4 days to do something. Could take 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is,
just do it.
You have to schedule it. You have to. And, you can even block off parts of, like, every Monday is usually my planning day. That's when I get all the little things done that have been hanging over my head. And I have a block time that's literally what I sit down and I have my list and I just go through them. And funny enough, when I changed into doing that, it was amazing how fast I got things done. It was amazing how quickly things were happening and being put together. So yeah, 100%. And it is sometimes and here's the thing too. We sometimes get hard on ourselves when we didn't get something done that day, and then we avoid it. Here's the deal. Don't get mad at yourself. Don't kick yourself. Just recommit. Now, if you're recommitting every single day, we got a problem. We got to talk about something else. But
exactly. And it's the same concept. So I have I work out at a gym. Obviously, I've been trying to do it virtually, and sometimes I get off track and I'll send a text to the nutrition girl who runs it, and I'm like, okay, totally fell off the wagon. And then, she literally, I think the best thing, she's like, then dust yourself off and get back on.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have, just because you fell off the wagon one day doesn't mean you have to give up the rest of your life.
Exactly.
So I know that. And then she'll just be like, it's okay. Like, let's just move forward and don't worry about it. But you're right. If you reschedule it every day, then that's a different situation.
That's another conversation.
Exactly. So as a success coach, Miss Carolyn, I have another one for you. I don't know. I think these all came in. I think people knew it was going to be you. I don't know. These all seem appropriate for you, these questions.
Okay, sounds good. I'm in.
Bring it. As a high achiever, I have reached a level of success that this person's proud of. I don't know if it's male or female, actually. I just got it.
Okay.
And I want to go further. I seem to be stuck on what's next to shift into a higher level of clientele. Any thoughts on why they might be stuck or how to get past being stuck?
Okay, so I'm going to go into my other favorite topic.
Mindset in a second, but this is Free for All Friday, so it's not all on the same topic. So we have
I'm good. I'm good. I love it. You're like, these guys are touching on all my favorite conversations. So
I know. I think it's just they knew it was you were coming or something.
This is like me having like a happy day all over again. So here's the thing that I've worked with clients, and what's happened in some cases when they've hit their goals or their vision. And now they want to take things to the next level, or they want to go to the next clients. Here's the question I'll ask you to think about. Have you revisited your vision, or have you created a new vision for where you want to take your business from this point on? If you haven't, it is something you want to consider, because I have found in working with corporate people and with other clients in that situation, when they've hit that point, it's usually because they've always been structured and organized and had everything in place and knew what they were going to do and how they were going to get into with other clients. And then all of a sudden, things have shifted and changed and grown, but you didn't revisit or replan what it is you want to accomplish. And so when we don't have what other people like to call the big why, I like to call it your vision or your dream of where you want things to go.
Yeah.
What happens is we get stuck. Right. And so what I would recommend, unless there's something else that you want to add to that I'm missing on, I'm happy to rejig that answer. But what I would say is take a moment and sit back and go, okay, here's where I am. Here's what I've accomplished. What do I really want to do next? Like, what if I were to sit, and this is the question I ask all my clients, let's imagine that it's 1, 2, 3 years down the road, whichever one you pick, I don't care. Yeah. And you're sitting with the most important person in your life at that time. And you say to them, I did it. What did you do? Write out what you want to accomplish, come back, and then set your plan to do it. And funny enough, as soon as you do that and you get out of that way and you've got that, oh my God, watch the client show up. And every time I do this with my clients and we do that reset, it's amazing the opportunities that like knock on your door and become available because now you're clear of where exactly it is you want to go and what you want to do.
Exactly. That's awesome. And you know what? It was really interesting. And sometimes it takes a third person, which I'm always a big fan of having a coach. I think everybody needs one. And I remember many years ago kind of sitting down with Faye and I'm like, I feel like I wasn't wasn't really happy with what was going on. I wasn't really thrilled. And then I'm like, you know, here I am. I felt like I was kind of stuck and kind of thing. And she said like one thing, and I'm like, that's brilliant. Okay. Yeah. And then I was like full steam ahead again. So sometimes it just takes that third person to look at it objectionably. I hate that word. And it can make a big difference.
It does. And it's looking at the bigger picture, because when we're in the middle of it, sometimes it's hard for us to see ourselves. But when you can talk to that third
person, forest for the trees, what's that saying?
Something like that.
Trees in the way.
Yeah. And so what happens is when there's no emotion attached for someone like me, and you start to tell me, so it's like, and Faye does this too, is that we can see the bigger picture up here that you can't see. And so what we can show you is what's possible, what's going to happen for you, and what you can do, and then guide you along that way to set it up so powerfully that, you know, literally.
And sometimes I think it's hard, because I know you and I have had this conversation. It's like, you could do that for me and I could do it for you, but it's hard to do it for yourself.
100%.
Because you're emotionally involved. You've got the stories in your head. You've got a different mindset based on what you're doing. And when someone just kind of sees that potential, or like you said, that person from the college sees that, pulls it out of you, shows you this is who you are and this is what you can do. And you go, let's go. I'm going to rock my life.
That's right.
The song right in the beginning.
Like I said, that's my life. Sorry. Okay. I had to do the rock star thing.
So I know that you can relate to this particular question. I know I can as well. So you have kids at home, so it revolves around work and working from home. So like many, I'm forced to work from home. Welcome to the world today, right? We're working at home. We've got kids at home. We've got interruptions galore. Okay. So like many, I'm forced to work from home. It's a struggle. If I'm working, I feel like I'm neglecting my kids. If I'm letting the kids monopolize my time, I'm not getting anything done with work. How do you set up those healthy boundaries so that family doesn't feel neglected, work doesn't feel neglected? What does all of that look like?
Beautiful. And we actually created a kid's schedule, me and my daughter. So it's kind of funny, because when this COVID thing started, I'm like, okay, I need to be organized. Luckily, my husband was home for a little bit. And then he went back to work, and that changed my life again. So here's what you want to do is sit down with your kids and find out what they want to do. So how I set it up, I'll give you my example, and hopefully that'll help, but I'll add to it. So I had to, when my husband went back to work and I have my business to run from home, I had to figure out a way on which I could set things up. And it depends on the age of your children too. So I have a 9-year-old.
Absolutely. So that's a whole
You and I talked about this, because you have teenagers, so they can be more independent and take care of themselves. Whereas I have a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old. My 12-year-old's a little more independent, but my 9-year-old, you know, she still needs someone around that isn't her sister. I wish. Anyways, so what I did, and I was lucky I could do this. So we have a cousin who, again, with COVID couldn't work and stuff like that. She's 14. So I said, look, I'll pay you Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, keep my kids entertained so I can work. And Mondays and Fridays are my kids' day. And so I find stuff to do with them. If I have to do anything, I get up really early in the morning, because now they sleep until 9. Hallelujah. Because I told you, right? My 9-year-old used to get up at 5:30. Holy jump. And I'm not even up at 5:30 some days. So what we do now is that if I need to get work done, I get it done first thing in the morning, and the rest of the day I do something with them. So like, for example, today when I got the call, I had 5 little girls in a pool in my backyard. And I said to my husband, guess what? You're taking over now that you're home and you're making dinner for them. I'm going upstairs. So it really is creating some sort of schedule, knowing the kind of work you got to get done and how much time you need, blocking that off. And then when you're done, you commit to them. So here's what I do to people. Here's what I say to people. I don't do that. I say it. You need to think about every person you deal with is the CEO for their own company, including your children.
Right.
If you're going to set up time for your children and they were a CEO, would you interrupt or take a call? No. So here's the deal. People don't also, and this is for women especially, I don't know if men do it very much, but I think women do it. We don't have to tell people what we're doing. And a lot of women do that. I've noticed. I used to. So it's like, well, I have to be with my kids this afternoon. Well, guess what? It's nobody's business what you have to do this afternoon. You can say, no, I'm sorry. This afternoon doesn't work for me. I actually have appointments. I'm booked. And
this afternoon, I'm not available this afternoon.
Right.
This is when I am available. And I think you're right. We do feel like we have to over-explain our lives, especially I think right now, maybe we're being a little bit more open to that because I think people understand. It's like, I have so much going on, and it's like, well, my kids need me here, my kids need me there. But you're right, it's really not anyone's business.
Now, and if you're someone who works for corporate, they're going to be more flexible. And here's the thing that I've learned with one of my girlfriends. And she says, it's funny, my company started to realize that being at home, we got more stuff done. And so they became a little bit flexible if we needed to take a day off or an afternoon off, because our productivity went up. And so this is the other thing you can prove and say, look, honey, I got to, like, to your boss, I got to take the afternoon off with my kids. But I'll make sure, Saturday morning, all the stuff gets done. And as long as you get it done, I think people are a little more flexible right now if you communicate with them and are clear on it. And you're that kind of person that gets stuff done anyway. Anybody who isn't, like, seriously, you got to think about changing companies, because any of the people I know, it's really communication. But if it's your own business, you look at your kids as your CEOs and you schedule that time off. And if they're younger, find out if there's a cousin that can watch them for a bit, because camp, I'm not sending my kids to camp, and I used to because of all the rules. So is there someone in the family that can babysit them for a day? Or here's what I did last year. On some of the weeks they weren't. Find another parent that's in the same situation and trade off days.
Right.
They take your kids for one day, you work that whole day. You take their kids for one day, you work that whole day. You just have to be a little more organized and way more productive. And then do some fun stuff with your kids. Like my kids got into baking, as Stacy knows. They bake brownies for her family.
Love her brownies. She's a brownie lady. But no, it's interesting because I remember having a conversation with somebody many years ago, and it was when the word work-life balance. Now it's a term that I don't love the term, but it's a very common one that's used because we feel like we need to. It's like a scale, right? We feel like we need to balance everything. So I need to work the same amount of time. So I've got to spend the time with the kids. I have to have equal energy, equal this, equal that, because as long as we're equal, then everything is balanced. So what the person, I don't remember who I was talking to now, but I remember having a coffee date many years ago. I mean, very in-depth conversation about this. I don't know why, it's not necessarily my favorite topic, but we did. And we said, well, forget the work-life balance. Let's throw that right out the window and let's start calling it work-life flexibility. Yeah. Because you're never going to have the balance of equal time, but you do have the flexibility, especially when, that's the whole joy of working from home and being an entrepreneur and all of that. So if I don't get something done, I know what I need to get done by. If there is a deadline, obviously, then I need to get that done. 100%. But maybe I can do it later in the day, or maybe I can do it in the evening, or whatever the case may be. Like you said, maybe you can get up earlier. You can shift your schedule around and be more flexible based on the needs of that particular day. So I know these are the three things, like you said before, around priorities. These are the three things that I need to get done for my business today. Where can you fit that in? Because some things happen. My kids will need something. I have teenagers, but they don't drive on their own. So I'm a taxi service. So I'm driving them here, I'm driving them there, but that's okay because I have the flexibility to do that. So like you said, now my kids are older, so I haven't had that, I'm literally like, my door is closed unless you're on fire or dying or bleeding.
Don't touch the door.
If you're bored, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like that's just been my response. I don't care. Go find something else to do. Go fix it. You're old enough to figure that out. Yeah. But I know it was an interesting conversation I was having with my older guy. My older guy was 16. And when school was on, I was sort of getting on his case because he wasn't getting what I thought schoolwork done.
Right.
But the difference is that he was doing his schoolwork at 2:00 in the morning. Because as a teenager, his schedule is completely flipped upside down. So he's going to bed when I'm waking up. Right. And I don't see him till 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So it works out really well because he's sleeping. Right.
He's getting his work done. And that's what the most important thing is.
But the thing is that he wasn't getting the work done on my schedule.
Right.
Technically, like his boss. He was getting it done on his schedule. But the priority is that he was getting it done.
Yeah.
So again, going back to your own life of whether you have young kids or whatever, as long as you're getting it done, it doesn't necessarily matter when. Now, again, waking hours of children, your daughter used to get up at 5:30, that needs to be fit into that. I don't know how you handle that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I just think we need to be very forgiving of ourselves, understanding what our priorities are. And I think like for him, like I had to teach him a lot of this stuff. He didn't know. He didn't have to. He went to school. He did his schoolwork. He came home and did but when COVID happened, his school shut down. I had to teach him, what are your priorities? What do you need to get done? How long do you think it's going to take? What other things do you need to do? Well, I'm going to go hang out with my friends, but I need to be home at this time. And then when when we're done playing our video games at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, that's when I'm doing work. So again, he was getting it done on his own schedule. So I think we can adopt some of that. You can get it done, but on your own schedule. If you're doing it at 10 o'clock at night, that's okay.
Yeah. And here's the thing too, is if it's younger kids, because I get that can be a little bit difficult at times, especially.
That's what I mean. Your scheduling and priorities need to shift.
So here's what we did is I actually sat down with my kids and I made a schedule with them. And so
I thought that was really cool.
And so if you guys want it, you can go to my website. It's really easy. It's myname.com. And literally, if you go into, it's actually still called it right now. We haven't switched. It's called, I think it's Freebies for Parents, but it's got business stuff in there. It's got a schedule my daughter and I made. It included homework. But now you can use the same system, but create it for your time to work. And there's also an adult version in there too for work. So you can actually create it for yourself.
But then for parent resources?
Yeah. I think
Kids
it's called
Weekly Schedule. Yeah.
And there's also one in there for adults. So literally you can sit down with them and go, mommy or daddy, whoever you are, needs to work this much time every day. Or if you get all your work done in the morning and can spend the afternoon with them, especially in summertime with not being able to put them in camp. Trust me, I understand. I have 5 kids today swimming that have been here. They're all in our little bubble. So anyways, and 2 of them are mine.
I love the fact that you sat down with your kid to do it. And I think that, and I've heard that story from a few people as well, that they started to, which they've not necessarily done in the past, but they've actually sat down and said, okay, this is, we need to all work together here.
Yes.
Like, how is this going to work for us as a family? I mean, in my situation, my husband is working from home. So that's been its own world of challenges that I've talked about before.
I'm sure, right?
I'm in a completely different office that I had to renovate, but that's okay. But the thing was, it was interesting. So for him, he's in a room, and a lot of time he has his door closed. He's on calls, he's on conference calls, whatever the case may be. And I was going away. I don't know. I was gone for a day or something. I'm like going anywhere fun. But I remember my son coming to me, but what if I need something? Like, what if I need to go somewhere? What do I do? And I'm like, hang on one second. So with him, as I point over there behind me, because that's his office is back there in the house. He's on there and you're thinking, how do I get in touch? What do I do? But if I'm here, so there's the whole other world as moms versus dads. I'm not going to get into that conversation, but that's the reality, because I'm primary caregiver, because I'm the one that's around when they get home from school. I'm the one that's here when they go to, so it's just in a different world. So now I had to teach them when my door is closed.
Yeah.
They text me.
Right.
I pick up my phone and I look at it. Yeah, exactly. So if they need something, they can text me. And if I'm okay, if my doors say I just forget to open my door, then that's different. But you're right. I think you need to have that whole conversation in the unit and say, this is all the needs of all our families. How can we make it work the best for everybody?
Exactly. And my girls too know, right? Like, even if they are home and I have to work, again, I really don't know the age of these children, so I'm being cautious.
No, exactly. We have to talk more general.
12 and 9, so they can get along by themselves for a little while. Like, if they are home and I have to get on a call, like today, right? For example, I'm like, okay, none of you can come upstairs to the second floor, right? And luckily I'm in that situation. If you're a condo apartment, it might be a little bit difficult. You just say you can't come into this room, but I can say to them, you got to stay downstairs. I mean, I can still hear, I hear everything, but the reality is they know that this is the time I have to. And they also, I'll tell them what time I'll be done. So they know, okay, I can text her now and see, can I come talk to her?
Exactly.
So
can I come in? And then it also depends on who I'm talking to. So that's why I tell them, so for, if I'm talking to somebody that maybe I know a little bit better, or a little bit more casual with, then I can say, you know what, do you mind just waiting 2 seconds? My kid has a question or whatever. And everyone's really good. I think the funniest story I heard was, I was talking to somebody and they were on the phone with the hydro company, and everybody's working from home these days, right? So it's the hydro company, and he's talking about his bill. And then all of a sudden she's like, will you wait? I'm on the phone. And then he goes back, sorry, what was your question? What was your account number? And he just laughed his head off.
I love it. I've had to do that a couple times.
Right? But it's
the phone. Stop it now.
But I think we're so much more forgiving right now.
Yeah. You have to be.
With what's going on, right?
Yeah. But I think really at the end of the day, to sum that up for you is really create a schedule with them. If they're younger, fine if you can switch with a parent, or if you have a relative that can take them 1 or 2 days a week, that you can really just focus. Like I have 3 days a week from like 9:30 to 3:30. I have that window for 3 days to get all the stuff I have to do done for my business, have all my coaching call clients, have my own coaching call with my coach, and get every project I need done. Because I find too with that by 3 o'clock, I'm done anyway, brain wise. So
right. So that's also understanding yourself. So I had this conversation with Faye this week, and we were talking about, are you a morning person or are you a night person? Because there are different types of people. So we were talking about, I think we were talking about something that she needed to get done. And it was sort of the afternoon. And I said, well, why don't you just go upstairs and do that now? Or I can't remember what she had to do. And she goes, you know what? I'm much better in the morning. So for her, she said, I would rather get up at 6.
Yeah.
Or everybody else gets up, get it done, and I'm much better in the morning. So that when we ended up having a conversation, she goes, nope, I was talking to her the next day. She goes, yep, I got up early, I'm done, blah, 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 and we're all good.
Yeah. And I'm like that too when, my youngest one doesn't come in bed and sleep with us the night before because she had a nightmare. And that happens too, depending on the age of your children, right? So I don't want to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and do my stuff at that point. So I got to figure something else out now.
Well, and that's why it's work-life flexibility.
Exactly, right?
And forgiving ourselves, like, the girl who owns the gym. She goes, then that's okay. Let's look at it tomorrow, brush yourself off and get back on the wagon.
And so here's the thing to add to that has a lot to do with mindset. If that happens, instead of beating yourself up, give yourself permission to stop. And then get that rest, deal with your child. And I tell you what, because you don't have the guilt now that you didn't be there for your child, and because you actually allowed yourself to be present and you got over it, when you do get up in the morning, whatever you had to do, I guarantee you'll get it done substantially faster.
Yeah.
Because when you have all that weight on your shoulder and guilt, honestly, it takes away from your brain capacity, your creativity, your energy to be able to focus on anything. Because all you're thinking about is, I worked all night. Now I didn't even spend time with my kids. And now I got to get up and do it again anyways in the morning.
Well, the resent kicks in.
Yes.
And then you start not only resenting your job, you're resenting your clients, you're resenting your kids, you're resenting your husband, your family. You start resenting everybody because nothing's working and, everything's pulling you in different directions. So you're
and then we procrastinate too.
So you just forgive yourself, allow it to happen, focus on your kids in that moment. And you're right. You'll feel so much better the next day if you need to get up and do that, because you've been able to have that flexibility and
that was a huge lesson for me as well.
Yeah.
Right. Massive lesson. And that really, when I was able to shift that, and then even giving myself permission that I was just purely mentally exhausted because of maybe I had a lot of clients that day and I had something else I had to do, and going, no, I'm going to not do that. I'm going to let my mind rest. That thing that I thought was going to, as you said, take me 2 hours. I get up the next morning, I'm done in half an hour because I was completely focused. I was rested. I was ready to go, and I got it done. So it's really,
and you get it done well. I think that's the other piece, that sometimes when you do it, maybe you're a morning person and this is in the afternoon and you just want to get it done and off your plate. Well, guess what? You don't necessarily do a good job. So then you end up having to redo it. Whereas if you would just close the books, put it aside, forget it, I'm done for today, and then go at it the next day, you're right. You're focused, you're energized, you're ready to go, you've made the commitment, and then you pop it out really fast. And you're like, wow, that was awesome. That would have taken me so long to do yesterday.
And here's the thing too, if it's a deadline, so just adding in, because I've been in corporate, here's what I've learned to do. So for example, if my kids really want to spend time with me and go, look, I tell them straight up, guys, I got a deadline, but here's what I'm going to do. I need a break. I'm going to stop for half an hour and I'll do anything you want for 30 minutes. And we put on the timer. They watch the time for me. So now my eldest one goes, Mommy, we got 5 more minutes. You're going to have to get back upstairs because you kept your word to us. And so when they start to see that you keep your word to them, they also want to make sure that you get back up on time because they want another opportunity for that.
Right. Well, it's positive reinforcement on all fronts.
Exactly.
Right? Really cool.
And
okay, last question.
Okay.
Last question. You're going to love this one.
I love them all.
I know. I swear to God, when you were here.
I know. This is like awesome. And guys, you can text me email me or send me a message if you want further information on any of this stuff. I'm here to support you. You can message.
You said you had a blog on mine, so we'll have to find that one later.
Yeah.
So this one is about charging what you're worth. So I know you're going to love this question.
I love this question.
I think you love them all.
I do. I work on this all the time with my clients. I love it.
Let's keep talking forever.
I could.
So I'm struggling with charging what I know I'm worth, especially during COVID. I feel that I should reduce my fees because people are having a tough time financially. I want to help, but I don't want to devalue my worth. I don't want to overcharge. How do I get past the conflict? What are your thoughts? I know what mine are. You go.
Okay, so there's a couple things here. It depends. So if you haven't already set a price for yourself, there's a process to do. If you have already set a price for yourself, but now you're questioning it because of COVID, that's a whole different conversation. Here's the deal. At the end of the day, there's still people with COVID, during COVID that have money. I don't know who your target market is, so that's another thing. Regardless of your target market, if you have something that provides value, people will pay for it. If you're feeling like you want to provide a discount, that's different. Then choose to do so, but do it in a way that it's like, hey guys, you know what, for the month of August or September or whatever it is, whenever you're going to launch something, I want to do a special for you guys because I know things have been challenging and I really want to help you reach a certain goal if that's what your target market needs to do. So let me use an example. So for example, for me, I do the coaching, I do business, I work with the whole person. So sometimes if I'm going to do a discount, it's going to.
I'm glad you work with the whole person. I don't like it when people work with half a person or just maybe an arm.
Yeah, thank you so much. So let me explain that. I love Stacey.
Sorry, it's Friday night. I felt like being sarcastic.
Sure. But the whole person meaning, though, even though my focus is on business, I know you know, but maybe everybody else doesn't. So I put that as a point I should explain myself. But here's the deal. Because of my background, if something in life pops up, we're going to address it and deal with it because I know that if we don't, you're also going to get stuck in business. And that's not good for you. So in charging what you're worth is you never not want to charge what you're worth. If you want to give a deal because you feel like you want to give a deal, that's great. Don't undercharge because what's going to happen is you're going to become resentful. And here's the deal too. If it's not your target market and you're pulling people in, then you're going to have to drag them. And if you have to drag them, you're not doing what you need to do, right? I don't want to drag anybody. I'll help you. Like I've had people where I've had conversations with, and I have a limit. If I'm going to give you a discount, I'll do it because I talk to you. So if I'm a coach, if I'm a coach, I am a coach. But if I'm talking to you and I realize that you're really committed to this, and that money is a little tight for you, I will give you a discount, or I'll do it in a payment plan. But my discount, I have a line. It doesn't go past that. Right? So for example, if I'm doing a VIP session, I might give you $500 off and let you do it in 3 payments, but you have to pay your first payment up first or 2 payments, depending on the person I'm talking to, the feeling I got from them, and the commitment they have. If they're constantly questioning everything I do or suggest or talk about, or I think they're going to fight me the whole time, I don't even want to work with you anyway. Right?
Well, there's a lot to be said. So my feeling when it was, how do I get past this conflict, right? I think there's a lot to be said around value, cost, and your own perception of your own cost and your own worth. Yes. So I agree with exactly what you said. There's lots of people in the COVID situation that are still earning an income, they're still making money, and they're still able to pay for services or whatever. Now, in my case, I think it was when it first started, or maybe it was a couple of weeks later, I think in April, I said, okay, I want to do something because I want people to move their business forward. And I have 2 really great programs I know that can do that. So I deeply discounted those were online programs. They're already built. I deeply discounted them for a short period of time, so that people could just, especially because, one of them was LinkedIn. So I was like, okay, this is the good time to kind of focus on your profile and stuff. So 100%. I deeply discounted those programs. But when it comes to my own time, I actually don't discount at all. My time, I don't have that conversation. But if I do want to offer something more, so to help in regards to the question around the conflict and charging, to me, I would offer more value. Yes. So if you don't want to, because I don't believe in discounts, that's just my own philosophy. I don't believe in changing my prices because I believe what I'm worth. But if you do feel that you need to do something extra, then offer them more value. Offer 100%. Them something else that they can do. Maybe you have an online program that you can gift them, that kind of stuff. So always offer more value or give them more. But I don't like, your value is your value, and you're not paying for your time. If I hired you for an hour, I'm not paying you for your hour. I'm paying your years of experience that you bring to the table.
100%.
So that hasn't changed. So in regards to that, I think you're right. I think the COVID thing kind of messed with people's brains a little bit, especially when they hear people are struggling financially.
Yeah.
So you can offer packages, you can offer different things, but just think of the value that you're going to be giving them, and knowing that what you offer them, they're going to be able, that person's going to move their business forward or themselves forward, depending on whether it's business or personal.
Yeah. And I agree. And as far as the discounts go for my stuff, I don't publicize that. If I really feel like I want to do something for that one person I'm talking to at the time, I do it. And that's a different situation. It's a different kind of package that I'm offering. So it really depends on what it is you're offering. Now, if I could just add, if you're not sure what to charge at all, period, there's a little quick process I take people through. And let me just, a couple things you can do. One, make a long list of all the services you provide. Then I want you to put beside each service, how much time does it take you to do each one, right? Then once you've done that, I want you to go, what is my value? How much am I going to charge per hour? If you're not sure, go look what other people are doing out there and compare.
And in your industry, and that's part of the research process, right? Are you at the bottom end of things? Are you at the top end of things? Where do you fit? So that you understand, because if you're way off kilter on either end of the spectrum, it's a problem, and would go to industry. So industries vary. Yeah, and client, target client, all that stuff.
Exactly. But then you just want to look at your experience. So how much experience do I have? How much experience does this person have, and how much they're charging? So you might be somewhere in the middle. That's great. So here's what I want you to do. You write the number down. If you can say that number really easily, you need to charge more.
Yes, I was just going to say that.
Bit uncomfortable. So if I say I'm $100 an hour and that just goes, oh, no problem, I'm $100 an hour. Okay, here's the deal. And then I go 125. Yeah, 125, 150. That's the price you should charge. Right?
Yeah, I remember, I literally remember one time being so uncomfortable. Yeah. Like I remember, I was like, I think I remember it was typed out because somebody had asked me in regards to what was my speaking fee? Yeah. And I typed something, I deleted it. I typed something else, I deleted it. I typed something else, I deleted it. Then one more time, I literally typed it in and I went, my heart started to palpitate, right? And I put it in and I'm like, I'm going to press send before I delete it one more time. And I pressed send, and they came back and they said, great, when can you do it? And I'm like, what?
Exactly.
So that makes you realize that, you know what, that's in your own head. That is not the way that you are perceived, because your perceived value, you're perceived that you're worth it. So it's not their issue. So that's where you get into the price thing, right?
Yeah.
So
and it's really, it's the thing, it's the mind game you play with yourself, because you're questioning, am I going to get value? And you know, it's not, and don't look at it as a bad thing, because, you know, it just means that you're somebody who truly wants to give value to people, but you still need to charge what you're worth. And so there's two different, again, we don't know where this conversation was coming from. So I wanted to make sure we had the other side of it. Little thing you can do for yourself and make sure that you are charging what you're worth. And I take my clients when they're not sure through that process. And so it's something you can easily do for yourself. And just check it out as well.
Well, Carolyn, thank you so much for stepping in tonight. I really appreciate it. That was awesome. I love the fact that I think these questions were just custom made for you.
They were. I was like, oh my God, this is like, I love chatting about this kind of stuff. I'm in.
So that's awesome. Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. Join us on Monday. So Monday at noon, we're going to talk about mastering the new elevator pitch. Ooh. So really excited about that one. So
I might be joining in on that one. You never know.
There we go.
All right, guys.
See you then. Bye.
Bye.